Market update here on the 23rd. So SPY up pretty good yesterday, and this morning it is up a little bit more. The top, I think, for the next 3 or 4 months has already happened here at 565, unless we get like an expanded flat. I do think we're going to be heading down here to 537, potentially lower. We'll see, but yeah, I think that the trajectory is down, and let's see. But I think we are making a counter rally right here. So we came all the way down here to 547. This is likely A wave here. We're making a B wave. This one took about 3 days. We are about 3 or 4 days into this counter rally. Let's take a look at it on smaller time frames. So this kind of looks like a 5-wave move. We'll see how it goes, but you might see a pullback here, and then another move higher like that, and then probably another flush down to the 537 level. You can see here the 1.61 fib is right around that area for the gap fill at 537. So there's still going to be some lower movement. I did see a print on Blackbox. It was like 9 million for a 1018 call, pretty much at the money. So that's definitely positive. It was above the ask. But overall, still bearish on SPY, and then on QQQ, same thing. It looks to me like it could be a counter rally, potentially a fourth wave. We're probably coming down here to 467 at some point, and potentially much lower than that too. Remember, I was talking about this might be the overall top, and we might get an expanded flat in 2025. So overall, A down, B, and then C like that. So QQQ and SPY, short-term bounce. We have earnings though, so let's go over the individual stocks now. Let's go over Tesla. I made a video about it yesterday, and so I made a video about it yesterday and said that we're probably either going to go to 260 or this is going to continue down here to 220, 230 right away. It looks like with earnings after the bell, this is probably going to go up. So A, B, C like that, and then probably sell off one more time down to here. So I'm bullish till we get to this area again, and then I'm ready for a sell-off. AMD was able to finish above the 200 DMA yesterday. I'm still not bullish on this, really. Let's look at the chart, though. It's down a little bit here pre-market. I think there's a good chance we come down here to the 200 on the weekly. So the 200 on the weekly is right here around like 147-ish. I think you can go all the way down there. I would expect it to bounce before that. But we'll see. Maybe it will hold this demand zone and bounce out of there as well. I am long right now. Despite all of this, I am long here. Average somewhere around like 156, 157. And I'll probably just take profit whenever we get a nice bounce. But again, if it comes down here to 146, I'll still be holding, I think, unless we get some kind of crazy sell-off below that. I think it's going to bounce at least back up to the 20 on the daily. Wherever that is, let's see where that's at. So the 20, 50 are up here in the mid 160s. So I think eventually we get a bounce back up to there. But if it does go down to 147, you might see these in the low 160s at that point. There's two paths for AMD. Let's just go over the two paths. We're looking at either 1, 2, potentially 3, 4, and 5 down here like that, or potentially ABC, I don't know how far it could go back. It actually hit the 0.61 fib. It's possible it could be a running flat, but I don't think so. This is probably just a wave one. I would say it's more than likely we see something like this over the next couple of months. So AMD, very bearish on it right now. It's below everything but the 200 DMA. Let's go over Crowd. Crowd dipped pretty hard. Here's the next support area I see. It's below the 200 DMA now. Next support is at the weekly demand zone here at 253 all the way down to 239. There's a gap here as well. But below the 200, below the 20, below the 50, super bearish. On the weekly chart, it just finished below the 50 and the 20. So really, your next support is the weekly demand zone, and below that, the weekly 200 DMA, or 200 SMA at 203. So very bearish here, but you might get a bounce here in the weekly demand zone. It's pretty much flat pre-market. So this information is very helpful because when you're looking at something like this where it's just selling off like crazy, you want to buy the dip, but you don't want to be catching a falling knife. And that's exactly what people are doing here because this is breaking through moving averages pretty easily. This only took 15 days to go from 400 all the way down to 260. So be very careful catching a knife here. I would say the next spot to buy in would be in here. Break that, you're going down here to the 200 on the weekly. And just to take a look at this weekly, we were at the very top of the range. And you can see here, this is the very bottom of the range. So it can go much lower here. And I think it should. I mean, it just completely screwed up the global economy for a day straight. A lot of companies got screwed out of their money. So there's no reason to be bullish on this stock at all. Potentially a bounce to 250. Let's go over Microsoft. So Microsoft, nice bounce here. Let me look at the daily. Let's just see where we're at on the daily. But again, it is above the 200, below the 20. No, I'm sorry. It's above the 50, below the 20, above the 200. So I would say I'm short-term bullish on this based on where it's finished at. But I think there's a good chance to come down here to this demand zone. Could even be like this to finish off. Probably an A wave down on smaller time frames. On the smaller time frames, potentially one more leg up. But honestly, I just think this is going to keep on dipping. So I don't know when earnings are. They're probably sometime this week or maybe next week. But overall, still bearish on Microsoft overall. And let's move on to Apple. A lot of these are just like no touch for me. They're just going to keep on dipping in my mind based on the weekly or daily charts. And so looking at the hourly, 15-minute, all those charts isn't really something I'm really doing that's much right now. Just looking at the daily chart and knowing where my targets are, where do I want to buy in at. And on Apple, as I mentioned, this is probably going to end up being a diagonal. And if it's a diagonal, then I'm looking for this support zone down here at 195. Break into the first wave and then go long up here to like 260. So on Apple, it looks decently bullish based on the moving averages. It's above every moving average. One of the more bullish tech stocks. But again, I just expect this to play out. So we'll see how that goes. I think the third wave is likely finished. Look for a dip for over the next couple of months. And let's go over some of these stocks like Lulu and Nike. Lulu just cannot bounce. So last earnings, we were down here in this demand, weekly demand. It bounced up here to 330-ish and comes right back down here at 285. It broke below this. At some point, this is going to have a huge bounce. It's not a bad candidate to start buying into. Looking for the bounce, but right now, still not really that bullish. Nike finally bounced yesterday. 74.86. I do think that this is likely still coming down here. Bounce, like I already have it drawn up, potentially down to 50 bucks. So I'm not that bullish on Nike, but for a short-term bounce, I actually sold out of my swing position already. And yeah, look for the next leg down here soon. On the daily time frame, you got below every moving average. Maybe it comes up here to 78 and touches this and then sells off more. But nothing bullish about Nike or Lulu. And let's go over the miners. So nothing bullish about Mara in my opinion. It had a nice move short term, and it's above all the moving averages. But just looking at this pattern right here, I would say this looks like it's going to do this. Before it's all said and done, I think it's probably going to sell off more. This is not bullish to me at all. So looks like an ABC move, so I would expect a pullback. It's possible it goes a little bit higher first. It did break through this daily demand zone, or daily supply zone, I mean. So maybe we get one more move higher, but overall, just a bearish chart, short term down to here. And then I think there's a possibility that you get this in 2025. You get that. So Mara, I'd be careful with it. I'd be very careful. NVIDIA, we got to go over that. NVIDIA had a nice bounce. Didn't quite hit my target, but it did barely hit this daily demand zone. If this breaks into 127, then I would say this dip is probably over. But if not, you're still looking at the potential of this. Like that. So barely gets into the demand zone. Potentially come down here deeper into the demand zone. It held the 200, and it actually just finished above the 20 as well. So that's decently bullish for it to come up here to 126. Can it get above the 50? We'll see. Can it invalidate this whole thing? Potentially invalidate it and go to new highs or maybe start a B wave. So NVIDIA looks fine here. What else we got here? We got Tesla, already gone over that. Google has earnings today. I haven't looked at this in a while. I'll give you my opinion just based on moving averages. So it's been straight down for Google, 193 all the way down to 178. It's in a decent spot. It finished above the 50, has resistance at the 20. All comes down to earnings. I would say it probably finished a 5-wave move here. Yeah. So it's likely just making a B wave or a second wave here. So again, kind of what I was talking about on some of the other tickers. This took 18 days, or 8 days, I mean. I would expect this to last probably into the end of the week or maybe early next week. So you're probably going to see this B wave last a little bit longer. And then head down. Let's see what else we got here. Let's take a look at the dollar. So the dollar got stronger. It had a nice move down, but then ended up coming right back to where it's been for like the last 6 months. Overall, the chart is looking, I would say it looks pretty bullish now. So there's a chance during this dip we come back up here to like 108 to 110. That ends up being the end of the B wave, and then like I said, 2025 we get this down to here. So still bearish overall on the dollar, but short term over the next couple of months, I'm pretty bullish on it. So that's pretty much it. My focus today is going to be on Tesla. If we get up here to 260, I'll probably be taking some profit on some of my sold puts. If we get up here to 260, I don't know if I'll be buying puts because the IV is going to be pretty high. But I do expect us to fall down to here one more time. Potentially a 200 DMA test. So we are above, that's on the hourly, hold on, I mean the 20. I expect a 20 test. So down here, maybe it breaks below it and then finishes above it. One of the two. I think that you're going to see 260 though before you see 230. So I'm going to leave it at that. I've been kind of slacking on the videos because I haven't really been focusing on the market that much. And that's what happens when you travel. So I'll try to do more updates, but for now, pretty much I'm bearish going here into the election unless something changes. If I start seeing option flow that's more bullish, then maybe I will start looking at more bullish scenarios. But for now, focus on Tesla. Let's see how earnings go after the market, and I'll probably make a video later today. That's it for now. Leave a comment, like, subscribe for more updates, and I will catch you in the next video.